Fifth, distributed system P2P and cybercurrent model. In this lesson, I will explain P2P in detail. At first, we review a little by introducing a P2P in the blockchain. Even if there is no central administrator, the system is maintained without fraud. In addition, there are two major benefits obtained by P2P as follows. One is that there is no central administrator. In other words, mediation fee isn't taken and remittance can be made with a very cheap commission. The second is to enable smooth economic activities by eliminating existing obstacles such as national borders. Then let's explain P2P, which is creating the benefit peculiar to the blockchain. If you understand the Grand Saba model to some extent, P2P also becomes easy to understand. So let's also check about the Grand Saba model. The figure on the left is the Grand Saba model used on the existing internet, and the figure on the right is the P2P method introduced in the blockchain. The Grand Saba model on the left is divided into a server that intensively plays a specific role on the network, and a computer called the client used by each user, and it was the mainstream in the 1990s. Currently, web system that follows the outline of this system is mainstream, and the structure that the client accesses the web server that plays a central role by using the web browser. Since the difference between the web system and the client server model is not important in understanding the blockchain, please think that it is the same as the mainframe. Because in the web system, we browse the information provided by the server by using a web browser, represented by Google Chrome. It is only necessary to change the server side in order to update anything, and the client doesn't have to change anything. Since this system can save time and labor for clients, it is extremely easy to use and less burdensome to users. But there are disadvantages as well. If the server is attacked, such as hacking or malware, it means that the entire network will be in trouble because the server administers all as the system's mainstay. Blockchain solves the demerit by introducing P2P method. There is no central administrator in the P2P method, and each node contributes to the maintenance of the system by freely calculating by copying data which comes around. None of the nodes are important. Basically, all the nodes are equal. In other words, this means that every node is not important. Even if some of the nodes participating in the network are in trouble due to some accident, the individual node copies the data and works autonomously, so the system will continue to operate steadily. Nevertheless, it is possible that multiple nodes fail at the same time. So risk increases in the system where the number of nodes participating in the network is too small. In other words, if there are many nodes that participate in the network, it simply means that reliability of the system will be improved. Therefore, a system such as blockchain in which each node autonomously works and aims for one purpose is generally called an autonomous distributed system. Of course, there is also a disadvantage in the P2P. The P2P aims at maintaining the system by increasing the number of nodes, even if some nodes fail. So, it is not suitable for a type of application that improves performance as the number of nodes increases, like artificial intelligence. In blockchain, the increase of participating nodes leads to an improvement of the reliability of the system. But it takes time for the data to travel to all nodes, so it is difficult to introduce the artificial intelligence and so on, in which performance is improved as a whole by increasing participating nodes. Moreover, the advantage of keeping running without stopping, regardless of troubles in some nodes, means that it cannot be stopped even if you want to stop the system. In other words, even if information that should not be recorded, such as an unauthorized transaction, leaks out to the distributed system, it cannot be deleted, which may lead to accidents that shake the entire system. These disadvantages are in P2P. However, Unless something very unusual happens, the merit of keeping the system running all the time is more important than them in terms of distributing value on the blockchain. Of course, since a system for minimizing layer transactions has been introduced in the blockchain, I will explain it on and after next time.